Hello, my name is Marcello, and today I'm going to show you how to prevent your website from having DOM manipulation performed on it in order to access locked content. So this is an exploit I have definitely taken advantage of on other websites, and I just want to make sure that my website was not vulnerable to it. So the first thing that I tried didn't work. It took a couple hours of playing around, and finally I came up with this solution. So if I try to remove this overlay, it will automatically come back in. So it won't allow me to access the content behind this overlay. So I'm going to do this in Vuetify with Nuxt. This works just fine with regular Vue, and if you're not using Vuetify, it will still work. You'll just have to use other components other than the basic Vuetify ones. Alright. So let me go ahead and split my screen and go ahead and save this component, and we should see an update. Perfect. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and create a basic Vue template. I always start off my components with a div tag, and the first thing that I'm going to do is create an overlay. I always want it to be shown. And then the next thing I'm going to do is just create a quick vcard, and then vcard text. I'm going to add in a vrow, a vcolumn with a line set to center, and then a vicon. I'm going to make it fairly large, so we're going to do 98-point font. MDI-lock. I'm going to go ahead and create another div here, and then I'm just going to add in some text. And finally, I'm going to create one more vrow, and I'm going to add in a login button. Just going to be a link, and I like mine to be rounded. I'm going to make mine a little large as well. Alright, so now if I come over to Nuxt, I will see that I forgot to finish off my button. Alright, log in. Alright, there we go. So I have a basic login button completed. I'm just going to add a little bit of space in between these two lines. Just do a little bit of formatting on my code. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we are going to create a data object, and we're going to give it a value y, which is going to be a counter starting at 0. Then I'm going to create a method called check for removal and reload. And inside this function, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a timeout for every 100 milliseconds. Then within this timeout, I'm going to say if document.get element by class name, and then grab the 0th element, and this is going to be v-overlay __ or dunder scrim, or document get v-overlay __ content 0. Just negate those, so that way if those elements are not found, then what we're going to do is we're going to say on the next tick, I want to say this.y++, so I'm going to increment the counter y. Now, why are we doing this, you ask? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to assign a key to our div tag, which we're going to associate with y. When that key changes, it's going to force a full reload. The other thing I'm going to do is, just for optimization, I'm going to set my vCard to only render once. What this will do is, instead of the vCard constantly checking to see if any data is updated and refresh constantly, it will cause the vCard to only be rendered once, which will help improve performance just a little bit. Alright, so now what we need to do is make this recursive, or not recursive, but we need to make this check for removal and reload call itself, so that way after this 100 millisecond timer is done, it will restart. Now the reason why I'm choosing to use a timeout instead of an interval is that I've had issues before with intervals still running, even though that I have tried to clear the interval and I've moved off to a different page. So I just prefer to use timeouts. Alright, and so the last thing that we need to do in order to get this to work is we need to add in mounted, and we just need to call our check for removal and reload. I'm going to fix my view order issue. So now if I inspect our overlay, if our overlay content gets deleted, it just reloads. If the entire overlay gets deleted, reloads. If the overlay background gets deleted, it reloads immediately. Now, one attack that could take place on this is deleting the entire div. So if I go ahead and click inspect and just delete this div, then guess what? You still have access to the content. So the only way that I've figured out how to handle this is here, create another if statement and say if, we're going to give this an ID of active div, horrible name, can be better, if not document dot get element by ID active div, then this dot router dot go to 0. So what that will do is, if this entire div gets deleted, it's going to force the page to reload. Alright, so that is how you protect your Vue or Nuxt website from having unauthorized content viewed. Thank you for watching.